You talk about my one.
Yeah.
As no one else's. We can hear it really well.
It's it's outside barking at something, but that could be anything. Oh, it sounds like someone's just answered the
Amplitude
door.
has decreased. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hang on, we're talking. Ignore
We're
the
live.
first 17 seconds. We were talking about my dog. Yes, we're live.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to
Another
Let's
professional
Drone
production.
Out. Okay, shall I start again? Or do you want to do the intro? Gary?
Do it again.
Hello and welcome to Let's Drone Out.
Hold on. I've been called away.
Oh,
We'll start again in a second. Take 4. Hold on.
Yeah, no
Welcome
worries.
to your weekly fast and drone podcast. Let's drone out.
How good is your curry kitten impression?
I really lack the hair required. I mean, if I had a selection of wigs, I could probably go for it.
Well, I'll give it a go. Hello, and you're listening to Let's Drone Out. Welcome back. Tonight we're joined by everyone's favourite curry kitten. Hello. And everyone's favourite moustache, Stephen.
Hello.
And I'm Bright Till I Fly. Hello, and welcome to the show.
Here we are. Another week.
Start again. I'm back.
Everyone's favourite has returned.
Yep.
We've done it now. Third time.
Can I say, can you like tick the background noise thing? Because the hum is quite noticeable when you mute yourself.
Oh, let's have a look.
It's in the settings. I wondered if
Audio.
you could...
You're talking to Curry?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got echo cancellation.
Yeah, try it. See whether it does anything.
Any good?
Oh my. Yeah, that is amazing.
Oh,
that is
cool.
like so quiet.
It suddenly got crispy. Suddenly the
We've gone
silence is silent.
Oh my
Lovely.
God.
That was
Never
an unscheduled
turn that
radiator
off.
delivery. I apologise for that.
Okay.
These things happen.
And we'd like to thank all our Patreons, without whom such professionalism and adherence to duty would be not possible.
Yeah, I know. It's so
Thank
amazing.
You, Patreons. You're amazing.
So, are you here? Here's just a few of them to mention them, like Chris N, Richard, Alexander, Mark. Thank you guys, Andrew Lawrence.
Marsha McFly, I will try and get to Race Castle. I said I'd do it last week, and I completely just forgot. And
I was hoping that would be in your news, your little adventure.
Yeah, I completely got sidetracked by being sent a board to experiment with, and then the board not working, and me just getting furious at Whoops for a couple of days and ending up in a really foul mood. And then I went and bought some Happy Model stuff that works much better than an alternate vendor who we shall not name. And I've since recreated my Moblite 7 with ELRS and the 400 milliwatt Ludicrous VTX, which is only using a tiny little bit of bent wire, which is kind of a waste of 400 milliwatt. But yeah, it flies really nice now. You can go around the house without fail-safing, which is nice. I used to get to the bottom of the stairs and have to like clench in case I fail-safed. Yeah, that's a thing of the past now, thank God.
I don't know about you guys though. Maybe you're using something HD there, Stephen. That's I used to get a pretty clean video signal in the house, and since COVID times, and there just seems to be a lot more interference around. So we can solve the control signal finally by getting rid of the horrible SBI D8 type receivers and going to ELRS, but the video signal to me still seems a bit nasty.
Yeah, this is still an analog guy. This is like a 19-gram Whoop, so there's no HD on there. I don't want like 2-minute 40 flight times coming down with burning hot batteries.
It's the only way to go with 1S.
I need 400 milliwatt, basically. The latest batch of Happy Model boards, they've got this one with the rubbish copper antenna. And they've also got, if I reach behind me, my tray of Whoops. They've also got the X12, which is their like primo, slightly heavier board. This one's got plugs. I had to actually solder Whoop motors onto the other one, which is like doing surgery on insects. But this guy's got a 400 milliwatt VTX, takes 1 to 2S, and supposedly has 12 amp ESCs, although they're like 12 amp with ludicrously long dead time, so they don't work that well. But yeah, it's got a proper dipole and 400 milliwatt, which means in post-COVID land with everyone with their nice Wi-Fi boosters, I can actually fly out of this room, 2 meters to the top of the stairs, down the stairs, and I can make a turn into the living room without losing video signal, which is actually not possible on any transmitter that's less than 200 milliwatt, it seems, which is just bananas. There's a lot of RF interference around here too.
I used to be able to go out here, fly downstairs, out the conservatory, round the side alley where there's a big brick wall and still be okay. But that seems to be a thing of the past. But I do have some. I suppose I was normally using 25, but I do have some like 350, 200 milliwatt whoops now. Use them instead.
I did find out I'm not getting far on 25, especially with these suboptimal enamel wire antennas.
Yeah, they're not the best.
So
what's been happening?
I'm a little bit. I thought I was more prepared than I was, but I just want to get my video of. I went flying the weekend, Saturday.
Oh,
I went out to Blue. I'm going to have to fluff the arse off this because I'm going to have to go to DVR because...
Where did you go flying? Is this proper outdoors flying, not just wood flying?
Yeah, outdoor.
Was it at Hidden Valley?
Yes, it was Hidden Valley. The happy place that I reside in. And I'm just trying to...
Did you learn any new moves while you're loading up the DVR? Any new tricks?
No, it was very much a sort of like de-rust. And I had what I can only describe as an incident. And I'm hoping I've got it recorded.
A close call? Did the participants survive the incident?
Did you fly backwards into a hill?
No, it was kind of worse than that.
That was into a pond.
You were eaten by a cow?
No, so there's a big, large, like shed within Hidden Valley, and it looks like it didn't. Ah, here we go. I have the flight, and it is playing quite well on. Straight from the SD card, so
Let's
I can share it with you. So
fire it up.
Share video. Does it say what? Right. So it's PICTO11. I tell you what. Actually, I'm going to share because I've got I've got audio, but here we go. So this is me at Hidden Valley. I don't know whether it will be a bit of a slideshow.
That's coming across fine, actually.
Doing all right, fine to me. Well, you're running what, like 100S battery there, 414 volts. That's quite a lot.
Yeah, that's
higher than normal.
Yeah, that's.
How the hell do you know when to land?
When it's down to like 50 volts.
It's gone up to 514 volts now.
That's cool. It's doing like a Tesla thing.
Have you told it like the RSSI input is the battery input or something?
This is the joy of using KISS and FetTech. FetTech stuff just doesn't really seem to.
Sheep.
Yeah,
look out for the sheep.
I'm being an arsehole to the sheep, and it bites me on the arse, as you will soon see. So notice how I'm moving quite funny. Bang, bang.
Clack, clack, clack. Disarm.
I like the way you're like, I'm in trouble here. What I should do is get my throttle and just go like this
So
and
I
see if it gets me out of
turtle
trouble.
mode, and then all of a sudden,
into the
all of-
wool, right
yeah.
into the wool.
So
Oh, that
there's
must have taken a while to clear up.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've got some treats for you. Would you like individual photos, or
Show
would
us
you
the
like
new sheep mutant that you have created.
yeah, or would you like it? This is so much so, like I admit it. I crashed. I didn't fail safe. I crashed. As you can see on the video, I entered a big, large building of the shed. I crashed and I got tied up with the wall. Now, I'm in the sort of, LDO sort of, I'm hoping that you guys won't spare me and the rippage will continue. Would you like the GIF? They've Magical Pencils made a GIF of
I don't see how we could ever refuse. I think
or
we
do you
wanna
want
see it all.
individual photos? Okay.
let's go with
See
the
the GIF,
evidence of
and
the
then we'll
crime
ask
scene.
individuals.
Okay, so here is the GIF.
Holy! Oh my God! Is it alive? Is it
It's
alive?
become a
Look
sheep.
at that.
Yep. So hang on, we're going to go through the pictures now. So
I can't believe how much wool you attached to just one quad.
it's
I was thinking, we'll have a bit stuck in the motors. But for our audio listeners, Jack appears to have roughly half a sheep attached to his quad.
Did you check there wasn't like internal organs? You haven't just killed a small sheep.
I'm a 6 foot dude, right? And I mistakenly
You could wear that as a wig and be in a heavy metal movie.
It's bigger than my hair, which for anyone who knows what I look like, that's quite a statement. And I mistakenly went into that shed without my glasses. As a Curry would know, as a FPV wearer, you've got the goggles on and you have to put your glasses. And I went to rescue my quad because I thought, it's going to be overheating. It's inside. It's covered in wool.
So this is like essentially Thelma and Scooby-Doo. I've lost my
Look
glasses.
at it.
I'm just feeling around for it.
Literally, all you can see is the GoPro and a battery.
I see a battery.
And maybe an antenna.
There's a bit of an antenna there. Is that an old Fat Shark one?
So did you shave your quad?
Did you find a shearer, an official man?
It was like some clinkers. It was.
I imagine you sitting down in the next pose with your quad sort of tucked between your thighs, and you're just going at it with the shears, just taking big chunks of wool off it.
Or did you perhaps put it on a spinning wheel and weave yourself a jumper or something?
Yeah, it had. I mean, it smelt like arsehole. There's no other way of dealing with that.
It does look like it's covered in shit as well, apart from that wool. Wool and shit and bits of string.
You really go for these scenarios, don't you?
So
multi-rotors plus shit. It's your ideal day out.
So you couldn't really pull the wool apart because it was tied up with the rope as well. So it was just literally bending the props out. And how I've been saying for a while, I haven't really sort of like felt right. By the way, that's the cute dog we were with. Look at its little demon little face.
Yeah,
we're going flying. Get in. So if anyone wants to make a funny meme of that,
at least you had a designated driver. That's quite handy.
Yeah. So I like I was saying, like with the FPV, I've been really struggling with anxiety, and I find it really, really difficult when I'm prepping to go, to get there and fly. So as soon as I get to the field, usually back in the old days, it was really calm because it's like, hey, I'm really excited, I'm going to get to fly. But it's the whole getting a battery out, strapping it on, getting the goggles and sorting everything out. And I likened it to like, when you put on a t-shirt and it just doesn't fit right, and you go out and you make the mistake of going out with that ill-fitting shirt. That's kind of how I like kind of felt for the longest time with my flying, and I just kind of I couldn't put my finger on it. I just didn't feel right. And as you'll see, I can maybe
Now
we
your
won't.
quad stinks of sheep. Do you feel like you've got that catharsis?
Not yet. I'm going to show you some more more crashes so that you guys can rip.
You did look like you were kind of really jumping around a bit, like you're a little bit twitchy, like you really wanted to push it in that first clip.
And it just don't see the clue. I wonder if anyone of notices, like, I could really do with like the sort of like stick overlay. And I've got one more video.
I can imagine from those movements that you're quite clenched because the movements are pretty exaggerated.
It looks a bit jagged. It looks like you went over, then you overcorrected back, and then it went all a bit downhill.
You're
from
like
there.
flying angry.
A spiral of doom.
Yeah, it was. Here we go. Hang on, let me pause this. One last one for you. And I just wondered if like, I agree with everything you say.
Are you going to tell us it wasn't you, it was the dog all along? Like,
that is.
Well, he was driving the car at the time. You can't do both.
Oh, not again. Into the shed again.
Yeah,
brave man.
And points.
For all your viewers, he was on the verge of making it to freedom, but the shed curse hit him again, and he clipped the post on the way out and spun out.
It looks a bit like the smoothness has gone. You're in there, and there's a little bit of panic going on, and you're sort of veering back and forth.
Threatening you, like you're worrying about being, accosted while you've got your goggles on or something. Like there's someone who might prank you.
Yeah. Well. Anyway, I basically I couldn't put my finger on it, and I was starting to sort of like doubt my ability to fly, because like a lot of the time I'll fly with people and go, or people will watch, heaven forbid, watch a video of mine and go, oh shit, he can actually fly. So here is my excuse, and maybe the possibility. And I literally...
It's full of wool. It's all full of wool. No?
Can you see?
Oh, you see your yaw isn't actually... What the hell is going on there? So have you mixed your yaw and your throttle somehow? What's going on there?
No, this is a funny enough a problem that I've run into before. And it's a weird thing. I wasn't getting the full yaw value, and it was intermittently happening. And that's happened to me before. And basically, the only thing I can say what it is, because obviously I've got Hall effect sensor gimbals, and to cut a long story short, all I can say is it looked like I had spilt barbecue sauce into my trim switch. So I had to put that through the ultrasonic cleaner, and then I
like how you could be so specific. Like, it wasn't ketchup, it wasn't Marmite, it wasn't jam. It was clearly barbecue sauce.
Yeah,
barbecue sauce. This is what it looks like.
As you can see, like I've got the ultrasonic cleaner, so I was cleaning the trim switch, but also when I then I took my gimbal completely apart to find out that I've got a
because you had to do a condiment analysis.
Yeah, and it seems that I have got what I can only describe as black goo in my transmitter, like gimbal.
Right, but that's not the sensor, right? The whole sensor
that's
is the
magnet
board that sits up. Right, yeah, but you can't like pour something on a magnet and make it behave differently, can you?
I don't know, but whatever it was,
it's mercury.
That's what was happening, and I just kind of, because it was intermittent, I was just I thought I was absolutely losing my mind, and then I kept crashing in stupid ways, And then,
Is the
you know,
sensor board
ended up
okay? Did you get some crap on the little PCB that goes on top of it, where the actual
absolutely fine. I
sensor
replaced
is?
the glue. The only thing was that sort of like black smooth on the magnet, which I don't see how that would affect it. And there was some crap in my you know, I don't even eat barbecue sauce, but whatever went in my transmitter, that was the issue, and it would only come up now and again. But yeah,
Does
now
it still do it?
Did you
no,
try tasting it to establish what sort of sauce it was?
I didn't
Gimbal liquor.
really, I didn't really sort of like get to that stage. But whatever it was brown and gunky, and just ugh.
Yeah, I think just in general, you don't want corrosive liquids inside radios, just as a rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't normally ask this, but given it was you, Jack, is there any possibility it was just poo that had got in there somehow?
That is the only next thing that I could have thought of. But the thing is that led me, all I had to do was like compare the sniff of my quad now to the sniff of the gimbal, and it wasn't, it didn't have that sheep shit sort of muster. And, you know, usually, although I am known to excrete everywhere, maybe I defecated.
Because one time you were in the bushes reaching for a leaf and you got your Tyrannus.
I mean, that is a soundbite there, Tone. That's one for you. I may have defecated into my transmitter. What's brown and sticky? Jack's transmitter.
Is it a stick?
The lick test.
So, all right. So the fix for this, you know, the nuclear option, instead of tearing it all down and polishing it up, is just to get a new gimbal. Are you able to just get a new gimbal?
No, I took
about
it.
£8
I took it apart.
They?
I took it all apart. I cleaned it. I've put it back together. It's done. It's over now.
Okay. Well done.
Okay. I have a serious question that has come up because of this, and this goes to you guys and everyone in the chat, because I'm interested to know. Now, what you did there when you crashed in the shed is you went into turtle mode to try and get out of trouble. I want to know from you guys if turtle mode is something you generally use, because although it's super useful, I find, like around the house when doing whoops and stuff, outside, I've got my quad back only to find that, where's my GoPro, or where's my antenna, or where's something, because it's come off. And if it's down and you just go find it, then, you know, it's pretty obvious that the bits that fell off are going to be quite around there. So
exactly
I'm very nervous of doing that.
I'm often worried about, have I lost a prop? Have I bent a prop out of shape? Have I got a loose arm? Am I going to end up coming back with really hot motors and thrashing them, not realizing? So rather than just trying to use turtle mode and limp back, I usually just turn on the beeper, make the walk of shame, and I only use it for whoops. I fly in the woods a lot, so even if I'm flying a 5-inch or even a 7-inch, right, if I come down in a bunch of brambles, that motor's still going to be jammed. Right, and I don't want to burn the motor out. And even if I'm flying if I fly in a park and I'm flying like 1104s or something like that, grass is enough that they could just jam up the motor. So yeah, turtle mode for me isn't that useful outside of whoops.
I very rarely use turtle mode. I use turtle mode in that case because I did not want to go in there, in that shed. But I had to go in there. The irony
of making it 100 times worse is brilliant.
Yeah. I had to go in there. I made it worse. And I had to... Not only did it make my quad harder to find, because it wrapped itself in wool. And the whole floor was covered in wool. So it just blended in more. And
how did you clean the quad afterwards? Did you just cover the whole thing in ISO?
I just
burnt it.
It's in a plastic bag hanging outside.
I'll be honest with you, I took it apart and I removed everything metal and electronics, and then I sprayed it with multi-purpose flash cleaner and scrubbed it. I done that so hard that the dink on the thing, I actually broke my top plate. That this corner has been glued back on. No, yeah, it's no from like probably hitting the wall, but yeah, it and the other thing is that because I don't have a dedicated beeper and I'm using the motors because there's no room in that frame anymore, it
I'll try not
muffled
to
the
mention it.
motors because they're rubbed up with wool. So if it wasn't for the like little blinky, flashy LED lights lighting up the wool and the wool kind of using the sort of fiber optic qualities of the wool, I would have never have found it in that dark, awful smelling hell.
Can we go
that
back
is
to
that
your
shed.
ESC voltage issues as well?
Well, that's FetTech. That is.
Is that because you're getting
I'm a
voltage from the
moron.
ESC sensor and it's just crap? Because normally the
So is
FC
this
has
the brilliancy
an
of
ADC built in.
KISS, which you have to buy an
FetTech
OSD
fly
for,
like
and
that.
B, it doesn't
Not
even.
fly like that.
All right,
FetTech.
FetTech, whatever, and it doesn't even tell you that. So when do you know how to land? Do you just have to it's run out of power now? I'll crash it.
Not all your
or what?
lipos every time.
I just kind of.
And also, if you're not like you fix everything and seem to have this kind of must-fix mentality about electronics, if you're not like, surely, I can't believe all KISS users fly like that. Surely that's just impossible.
That would get on my wick if I had a funny display of doing.
All right, okay, all right. So I basically, the whole must fix. That's what. Yes, you're right, Stephen. I have the must fix, and the thing that's been the thing that I've been battling with is I've been doing some board repair on my this is my KISS Ultra, by Alexander Fedorov.
There's something that's not like the others there.
Yeah, and I've had a jumper wire, and I've only just fixed it. So, the reason I haven't really sort of done anything with the FetTech thing is because I don't know about the updates. I haven't looked at the updates. I mean, I haven't. In regards to knowing when my battery's done, I haven't been able to like kind of stay in the air long enough, and because now and again, all of a sudden my yaw doesn't work, and I just couldn't figure out like what it was, and I was so relieved. Like an epic, like no nut November, I've just made it to the end. I was like, I'm not insane. There was actually something wrong, and I just couldn't figure it out. And with the help from Alexander, I've now fixed my KISS Ultra. So I've fixed this, which is a something or other. And
is KISS Ultra the F7 one? Or the G4 one, or the H7 one.
It's not the G4. That's I don't know what chip it is. Hang on. It is. We've done a whole thing about.
There's an MPU 6000 I can see on there, but
yeah, STM32H743.
The H7 fancy one. Well, I can see why you'd want to fix it then because they're a bit.
Yeah, and it's a ball grid array, and basically the FetTech thing. I like. Every time I plug it in, everyone's like, what the hell's that? Because it sounds like some sort of Dalek having weird dumpster sex. And like it just reads off really sort of messed up, crazy numbers for the voltage. It did work for a while, and then I kind of done a few punch outs, and then it sort of like read 9,000 here and there, and there's never.
Mr. Fedorov, if you are listening, please take
make
pity
some
on this
ESCs.
poor child, this poor child, and help him through this troubling phase.
I've done it to myself because I'm using FetTech. It's
Have you tried a Betaflight board at all?
Felix, yeah. I don't know.
I've got 30 Betaflight boards, and I've had something like this on one of those, and I fixed it by just reading the voltage off the ESC telemetry instead, which worked fine.
Yeah, I need to go to the toilet, but can you give us some Betaflight news? Because you were mentioning about the
no worries.
new stuff coming out.
This time, shock horror, after the massive protracted soap opera that was the Betaflight 4.3 release, which looked like some kind of Odysseus length voyage of testing and retesting an infinite number of release candidates.
Cultural
The team
reference, like it.
Yeah, emphatic that they wanted to set a cadence and stick to it. And the result of this is that, ready or not, come the start of November, there will be a feature freeze. And if a feature hasn't appeared by then, it ain't going to get tested and they ain't going to let it in. Bug fixes will be allowed in, but the features will be frozen. And the aim is to try and drop Betaflight maybe late this year, if not exceedingly early next year. And we've got some pretty wacky little features that are coming in. There's going to be some massive GPS return home improvements. It's going to be sampling the GPS at a faster rate. The algorithm's completely rewritten. The arming and disarming algorithm's completely rewritten. There's more intelligence to sense whether it's hitting the ground or not once it's returned home, so it won't turn into a bouncing flying death blender as it had done previously. It won't return to you like a guided missile because you can tune the PIDs for a GPS return home. And if you have a barometer, it will now descend sedately because it was discovered that attempting to use GPS to measure altitude is urinating into the wind. It wasn't helping anyone. So the addition of a barometer makes for a much more sedate and calm descent rather than a glitchy stop-start, terrifying descent.
I mean, to be fair, barometers can certainly go out. So you often find yourself flying along at like minus something. But the difference as you go up and down, it can sense that quite nicely, can't it?
So that there's much more averaging and smoothing going into the whole algorithm in general.
I find that the most exciting feature. I wasn't excited by Betaflight 4.3, but the fact they've actually, because I think some of us were saying for a long time, it's like, well, you can sort of derive direction and stuff from a GPS without a compass. You just have to, work it out by taking note of where you were and where you are now, and therefore you can work out the direction you're going. So I'm really glad someone grabbed hold of that, because you can't do it. It can't ever be as smooth as like, I know exactly where I'm facing at all times and I can stop and rotate and stuff, but you can potentially come along. And I think, did you mention it had a couple of modes like come back and hover or come back and land?
Right. So this is going to be coming in, I think, in future releases. I'm not sure whether they've got that, but there's going to be some additional fail-safe behaviors. Right now, your fail-safe behaviors are, you've got the standard wait for an amount of time in stage 1 and then enter stage 2. And stage 2 is typically cut the motors or descend. Most people just cut the motors because you never know quite what's happening once you've lost signal. And that's where GPS return to home comes in. When you enter stage 2, it's going to then plot a course home. The option that was being discussed is, instead of return to home, well, maybe you're flying somewhere where plotting a crow's course, as the crow flies course straight home, is dangerous. For instance, you could have flown into a tunnel. You could have flown behind a building. You could have flown anywhere. For instance, it will try and return home at a set height, or it will choose the maximum height that you've reached in your flight. But if you've flown around the side of a building and now that you lost signal, it could run straight into the building when it tries to return home. And in those situations, people have suggested, especially if you're carrying a very expensive camera, if you're doing some filming with this quad, that a much better approach is to position hold. So instead of fail-safing and dropping, instead of trying to descend, instead of trying to return home, you simply use the GPS to lock you in place, lock you at height, and wait in the hopes that you quickly come running around the side of the building, waving your radio in the air like you're reaching for heaven, and you lock into the quad, and all of a sudden you can get control back. And your expensive camera is no longer going to end up spread across a brick wall or smashed on the ground. So that's something that people have talked about. I'm not sure whether it's arriving in this release or whether it's coming in the next one. I need to double check on that. There's some other interesting bits and bobs, though, which people really should test so they can make it into the release. And this is the point of feature freeze. You draw a line in the sand and you say, if this hasn't been tested and isn't ready, it can't come in. We've got some other bits and pieces that need review. which are things like GPS lap timers. There's a feature coming in where you can nominate a position on the map with GPS, and you can use that to say that's where my start gate is. So if you don't have an expensive lap RF, or if you just fancy, I'm in the park and there's like something that looks like a bit of a course, and you just want to have a bit of a lark around, you don't bring anything else with you, you could nominate a position as a start-stop gate on your imaginary course that you've just drawn up, and you can just fly around it. And every time you pass through this location, it's going to count and give you a split lap time, and it's going to show you the lap time. So you can kind of work on your flying, and you can work at making the turns more efficient and smoother, and work on the lap times. That needs some people to test it. And then I believe there's another one. Some racers want to be able to see their heart rate in the OSD. And so they've got an OpenTX patch, which enables them to have a heart rate sensor of all things fed in through a channel. And then the channel can then be taken out. It can be scaled and named and appears in the OSD. So you can use this for anything that appears as a channel. So you could have a servo and give it a name and a scale and set it from 0 to 180 degrees, for example, and then just show that in the OSD. Lots of odd bits and pieces. Mainly flight improvements. With 4.3, there was a ton of filtering improvements. And with 4.4, there's going to be also some more mixer improvements. There were a couple of edge cases where it turned out if you were running things flat out, then if you mixed in roll and yaw, you could get some discontinuities, and the motor mixer would jump over some values and it wasn't smooth, and they fixed that. There's also an entirely new build system which is coming up. So we're going to be seeing something called cloud builds, which is an interesting one. So they have an API, and they, instead of fixing the features that you can fit on an F411, or fixing the features you can get on an F7, or even fixing exactly the features you can get on some generic Happy model board, you can choose the features you want. And, there'll be an easy mode where you get to say, I want this radio protocol and not that radio protocol, and maybe an advanced mode where you can pass in the names of more obscure features. So if you really want to try an advanced GPS feature in future that might not fit on some of the smaller boards, if you want to cram something extra in there and take something else out, there's going to be some smarts that allow you to play Tetris with all of the features that Betaflight has on offer. So if you don't have like an F405 or an H7 board that are gifted with a large amount of flash, if you've got one of the smaller boards, you can sort of try and tessellate all these features in and get something that's, a bit of an odd build. And it'll go and build that for you. If for the really popular defaults that everyone's using, the results get cached. So the first time it's built, it gets cached. So if you choose just a default, you get instant ROM. But if you choose something a little bit quirky, it's going to go away in, 90 seconds, 120 seconds, however long it takes, feeds you back the result, and you can download it and flash it. I could get my old AKK fix back. Make me lab. Yes.
Oh, they still have the AKK versions.
Yeah, I actually have a feature branch for that AKK RDQ VTX thing, where they put like an extra trailing byte on the smart audio data, and they misinterpreted the smart audio spec somehow. There was a whole drama about it years ago. But yeah, that might be something that you can switch on for a firmware. Exactly. You could have your AKK VTX hack for a firmware.
Will sensor.
We're today in one of my Rush FPV boards, which somebody else mentioned in a YouTube comment, which made me think, oh, it's not just me. Where I think it might. I've asked them about this, and it might be that they've got a mix of versions on the boards, but the boards come up and they tell you it's Smart Audio 2.1, which requires the dBm values for each of the VTX table values. And I did this on a 4.3 build, and it was stuck in pit mode and it wouldn't change channel. And it was telling me it was Smart Audio 2.1. But when I changed it to the individual power ratings, like 0, 1, 2, 3, then it worked. And it went back to saying, oh, I'm Smart Audio 2. And it's like,
it's a Rush.
What have you done here?
Was it a Rush board?
Yeah.
I had exactly the same thing on a Rush tiny tank, and they ship with the mode set to RCE or race instead of free, and you have to go into the advanced VTX status while it's in pit mode. So you have to hold your
I did
goggles or
that.
screen right next to it and then change it to free.
You were unable to do that because that was grayed out while this was happening. Because I found that
infuriating.
thing as well.
Rush
But
really
that was really
this
weird.
stuff.
And I thought I forgot to follow it up, but then someone mentioned they were having trouble today, saying it was stuck in pit mode and wouldn't change channel. I was like, oh, ding, that's just rung a bell. Let me check that. And I've come up with the theory that perhaps they've got a mix of different firmware on their boards relating to different things, but the documentation is only for one of them or something like that. But I'll see if they reply to me.
I was really impressed by the clarity and the apparent build quality of those Rush VTXs. I got a couple of them. They just kept defaulting back to that race mode instead of free mode and locking me in pit mode when I powered up. And I'm just sick of them now. I don't really want anything to do with them because I used to always have to hold. You've got to hold the thing like right next to your head when it's on pit mode because the signal's so poor, and then you've got to flip through the on-screen display menus to get it out of pit mode, and it just seems unnecessary. I can't tell why they've made that choice in the firmware.
It was all good before about Betaflight 4.2, I think, and then something's not going right with them because I've always sort of recommended them as being sort of very, very clean.
They are clean,
sort of no noise, which I really like, but I can do without the hassle of having to fart around trying to figure out what's going on with them and things. That's a bit of a pain.
Yeah, I'm going more for the open VTX stuff. That's something else that's coming in as well while we're talking of Betaflight features. So instead of having to program your VTX table, there's a new feature coming in, which is VTX over MSP. And that's coming in with Open VTX, where one of the guys who started Express LRS, actually, he went and created an Open VTX project. And the Open VTX device is programmable over smart audio. So you could just flash new firmware to it. They've got a web-based app that does this. And the latest feature they're introducing is the ability to run a half duplex serial link and communicate over MSP with the VTX. So instead of programming the VTX table, you go, hey, VTX, what can you do? And it comes back and sends you the VTX table and just configures it on Betaflight. So
that would be much more sensible, wouldn't it? Saying what are your capabilities? Will have them. Oh, that's the other thing I was going to ask you, Stephen. Will they have the configurator over Wi-Fi via ERS?
I've been using it and I completely forgot. Yeah, if you're on Express LRS 3, then there's been a Wi-Fi overhaul, and if you've seen one of the transmitters, I set one up in a car. I got myself a WL Toys car because it was orange and I like orange. And that lasted about 2 days, predictably, before I thought, why don't I put Express LRS in this? I put a Maytech receiver in there, which has VBAT telemetry, so I can get VBAT back on my radio now for the car, which is nice. And the web interface has been massively expanded with Express LRS 3, so you can choose what channel goes to what servo output pin and set the rates. And with Express LRS 3 as well, when you flick the receiver into Wi-Fi mode, which is used for updating it, it also forwards the Betaflight MSP connection. So if you then open the latest nightly build of Configurator, which is going to debut in 4.4, if you have that on an Android phone or on a tablet or on a laptop even, that works on. I've tested it on Linux. I'm pretty sure it works on Windows and Mac as well. It's going to auto-detect that there's an Express LRS Wi-Fi device. It uses Bonjour or multicast DNS, MDNS, to see that there's another device on the network, and it's got the capabilities to offer this Betaflight forwarding and offers you to connect to it in the ports drop down. So much like when you plug in a serial port, it automatically chooses the port. If it sees a Wi-Fi device, it automatically chooses the Wi-Fi device, and you can connect to it. You can do everything you normally would, but you can't upgrade the firmware. You can't use the CLI stuff. And because the presets also use CLI, it means presets can't be done. But you can do your PIDs, you can do your kind of transmitter setup, modes, OSD configuration, everything like that.
That's dead handy. I think that'd be useful because if there's something that sometimes messes up in the field for me, it's I've forgotten to put this OSD thing on, and if you try and do it through the menus, it's a massive pain, and it just appears in a place.
You can't move
randomly.
it, and you've got to deal with it right in the middle of the screen for the rest of the session.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty neat. Cool.
Yeah.
Look forward to that.
And I was asking about whether it's going to come to the Android App Store. Some people were making noises about that. I should chase them up. Someone somewhere has keys to the Android App Store for Betaflight, and much as it was published as a Chrome app, someone somewhere is able to get it onto the Google Play Store. So I was trying to push people to do that because it's just much easier. If you've got an Android device and you download some APK, the first assumption is, hey, the user's an idiot. This is a malicious program. Let's stop them from installing it. And if you're not sure whether you've downloaded it from the right place or not, then the burden of security becomes a user thing. We don't really want that. We want the phone to be able to verify it's secure. So it should really go on the App Store. Try and get that done as well.
That aside, also if it's on the App Store, you don't have to think about, I wonder if there's an update for this.
Yeah,
because
you could have things like a beta program, so you could automatically get nightly builds if you want to move from 4.4 to whatever the 4.5 nightly is, for example. I'm really interested with this online builds, by the way, whether it's possible to do an F3 build. I haven't pushed it because I know it's stupid and we should just give up on F3. But I'm wondering whether
that's like suggesting to Express LRS that they support S-Bus. Support F3? That's yesterday's technology. Don't be stupid.
I want to use 72 megahertz of raw power.
Well, I've still got like a bunch of old quads and old little early micro quads and that've got F3 boards which have never been upgraded, like on like 317 and stuff.
That one just up there, yeah.
Yeah, loads of them. Talking of publishing on app stores, then is that ever going to be on the iOS store? And can you even connect? You should be able to connect to.
You should know this as a developer. You can't. You can connect to Wi-Fi. That might be a way around it, but you can't connect to USB. And like 90% of people are using USB, so
you can't connect to USB, but you could connect to Wi-Fi. And
I think Apple are also like very prescriptive about what you write your apps in, aren't they?
Yes, at the moment, everything gets written in. Oh Christ Almighty! I've forgotten what it's called now. It used to be Objective-C, and now it's. No, they wouldn't let Node run on it. It's
yeah. So
I forgot what it is.
It'd be a complete rewrite, basically, into whatever Apple's flavor du jour is.
Yeah, I mean, you can run a web app on there, but it won't let you run a Node JS thing. I don't think. Don't know. It's tricky.
I think the future is like PWAs, basically, which were kind of missold by Microsoft for years, progressive web apps. But Microsoft, as with everything, it was like, embrace, extend, extinguish. And they pretty much killed their own idea by suggesting that they knew how to do things better than everyone else and then patently doing a worse job of it than anyone else. So they fell out of favor for a while, but it looks like there's a bit of resurgence now. Because you look at EdgeTX, and the EdgeTX Buddy is just so much easier to use than Companion for flashing stuff. It's an absolute doddle. If anyone hasn't seen
is the word I was missing, by the way. Thank you.
Swift.
Just came in at the same time. Yeah.
So have you guys looked at the latest EdgeTX release as well?
Nope.
No. I'm still on OpenTX. I am a complete scumbag.
I've never updated EdgeTX. I've had radios that have come with it, and I was like, "Oh, that's okay." Oh, hang on, it looks exactly the same. I can't tell the difference, but I've never updated it, so I've never had to fight with any configurator or anything.
If you run some Chrome-based browser, like Chrome or Edge or whatever, go to buddy.edgetx.org, and that's an updater. So you can just plug your radio in DFU mode. So typically most radios, unless they're the Beta FPV Lite radio, which is effing stupid, most of them just appear as a DFU device when you plug them in. With that one, you have to hold a tiny reset button for reasons known only to Beta FPV. But yeah, you can just go flash stuff from a website now without having to download something, so you can download something else.
Nice.
Which is kind of what Companion was doing. Yeah, it's pretty cute. And the color radios do look really nice. They've got kind of proper spaced out UI, so you can actually hit the targets with your finger. Because it was like Homer with his fat fingers trying to dial the phone. Like, your fingers are too fat. Please order a special dialing rod. You couldn't hit
Please
any of
mash the
touch
keys
targets.
if you're too fat to
Yeah.
hit one.
But yeah, now they're all big and the scrolling's smoother and stuff like that. So it's pretty nice if you've got a touchscreen radio.
Which,
I think my ESC is updated to the latest thing. I don't know.
Well, I should also say it's pretty nice for wing pilots as well, because I've got like one model on all of my radios, which is like the CRSF output, and it's just that's it, the same mappings for every single quad. But if you've got like helis and wings and gliders and God knows what, you would have apparently different things. You might even use some of the little slidey bits that they put on the radio so you can fidget with when you're flying. I don't know what they're for. But yeah, if you've got all these different models, previously you'd have hundreds of entries, where now you can put them into groups and organize them into nice hierarchical menus. So you've got like folders of planes and folders of helis and all that stuff. A bit easier.
Well, you would have had hundreds, but OpenTX limited you to 60, and by which time you're out of memory anyway. So then you have to start deleting stuff.
Well, yeah, you're also now not out of memory because your models get shifted onto the SD card now, I think, by default.
Oh, that's quite handy.
Yeah. So you don't
the
have
sliders,
to
by the way,
storage.
pan and tilt, always useful.
Huh? I'd probably crash if I did that.
The difference with planes is you tend to be a bit higher up, so you're not doing like 6 feet. And like, what's behind me? Crash.
I was looking at planes, committing a cardinal sin.
How are you doing with your Lidl build? Is that still ongoing?
I've got all the bits, and I'm basically to the point of chewing my fingernails a lot now. My FC order got cancelled by AliExpress, which I'm really pissed about, and it's making me reconsider.
I actually had an AliExpress order turn up for the first time with no problems. These are RP-SMA solder connectors for my maple leaf antennas, so I can go back out and do more open HD stuff finally.
I'm waiting on a engineer crimp tool to make SH. And
I thought you were going to say to crimp an engineer.
Yeah.
Really big pliers.
Yeah, because none of my cables have got the right enough pins or in the right order or anything.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was the worst part about the gimbal conversion on the T-Lite. I slapped in some of those Zorro gimbals and trying to find someone who would flog me some JST 1.25. Apparently, they're called Pico Blade, and no one sells them. I could get an entire crimp kit for like $30, but I needed 2 cables, and I couldn't find them anywhere except with the horrible like PVC wires, which you just don't want if you're going to be soldering, because it's just going to turn into a horrible sticky mess. Especially as I had to strip off insulation in the middle of the wire and then pass it through to something else. That was a fun little build.
That's right, Audio Geek. Yeah, so I bought a set of crimpers that were like the automatic ones, and trying to do the SH ones, it does not work on that thing. It is complete garbage.
I just buy the pre-made ones.
Yeah.
Repin.
Can I just mention that I find the whole idea of so many connectors, like there's 1 billion connectors under the umbrella of JST. And that is ridiculous because people...
And it's not even an official category. It just means Japanese.
Yeah, they often email me and say,
terminal.
what's this connector called? I said, it's a JST. Beyond that, there's loads of other little things that go with it,
All
which
that tells
nobody
you
knows
about a
unless you
connector
can
is
measure it.
was probably featured in a radio that was made in Japan in the 1970s, and thereafter became a semi-official member of this JST group, which are no longer Japanese and no longer made by any single company. It's just a mess.
I know, it's awful.
At least Molex, there's some vague standards.
Yeah.
Things need names, proper names, so you can just buy replacements.
Audio Geek, there is a company that like Hobby RC sell silicone already made ones, but it's only terminated on one end, so you're screwed for the other end, and they're all multicolour.
Well, if he's doing GPS, he's unlikely to have a terminal on the FC, isn't he? It'd be just a plug on the GPS.
I don't know.
What I end up with is loads of joins. You never cut the cable because that's got the connector on, and then you just join it to different stuff.
What you can do is just shell out and buy the Maytech ones and not the knockoff Brighton GPS, because the Maytech ones actually ship with silicon wires and they're pretty good about it. Whereas the off-brand Brighton ones, well, they may be similar in other aspects, ship with trash cables.
Do you know what the worst part is? There's a guy or someone, guy or girl, or maybe not even binary, that sells those connectors on eBay, and I messaged them and I was like, "You sell in Brighton? Can I come pick them up?" And they were like, "No." So I got to place the order and then wait for all the postal strikes, and then they show up a week later, and I'm just like, I literally just I just buy
from
them?
The perspective of the seller, would you want to meet you, some great Hulk going, "Where's my connector?"
Well, come off there. It's going to be anyone who knows what a GST 0.1 connector is. I doubt it's
clearly a psychopath and shouldn't be trusted. Exactly.
Yeah, like, fucking, just find a rock, give me a geocache, and fucking stuff it in there and leave it in there, and I'll dig it out of whatever hole it's shoved in for all I care. The quad smells of sheep arsehole, for fuck's sake. Sorry, editor. Good luck with that.
There's a whole new business.
Was Audio Geek the listener who wanted an entirely solderless build? I think this is coming back into focus now, through the mists of time.
Yeah.
It can be possible with the right components.
It can be possible, but you need to solder the wires instead of the FC. Spend all your time joining tiny wires together because you've got two sets of cables terminated on one end, and you can't find any that are terminated on two ends.
Just keep finding the cables.
Yeah,
You'll end up doing the order dance on AliExpress and waiting a month for everything, and then like 6 months later you might have a quad.
Yeah, it's just like people. Do you ever find yourself where people go, "Oh, I don't know what this is," and they ask you, and then off the top of your head, and you just go, "I wish I didn't know that, because I will never feel the warmth of another human being ever again."
These days, it's more like, I do know what that is, but now I can't remember the name because early onset dementia is set in once again, and I've forgotten.
Yeah, there you go.
4 hours from now, we'll randomly call you and shout, I've already forgotten the name of that programming language. Swift! I shout, "It's Swift!" down the phone, and then put the phone down.
Molex Pico Blade!
Slam.
Bye.
Gavin Ferry called me and asked me, can you help him with some C programming? But that was a week ago. And I thought, do you know what? I'm not even going to ask you. Yeah. I was like, I don't know. But feel free to call Gav if you do want to help him.
Well, I believe the standard advice that is given to any aspiring C programmer is 1, fuck off, and 2, read Kernighan and Ritchie. And if you go through all the forums, you'll see many helpful individuals who, 1, tell you to fuck off, and 2, tell you to read Kernighan and Ritchie. So that's probably what you want to do to just save some time in the transaction.
Yeah, Gav, if you listen to this.
Actually, no, I found this. I was going to send this to you, and it's a lovely picture of. It's like a C programming joke, but it explains pointers in such beautiful detail. So I'm gonna share this with you. And
it was
for the
structs
other
that got me. I couldn't remember how structs work.
God, I can't even find the share screen thing now. My share screen, is it present now? Has the share screen thing gone away?
Yeah, they've changed it.
They've changed it.
It's in exactly the same place with the same icon, Curry. Come on, you can do it.
Really annoying.
You can do it.
There you go. There's my C pointer joke, which is, if you know C, it's a beautiful, beautiful reference. What is a
So
pointer?
would there
What
be
is
a
a
third
pointer to a
lady
pointer?
that's called int star star star, pointing to the other
Does
lady?
int
called
is int
star star?
short for integer?
Yes.
Well done, Jack. Jack gets a gold star.
Yeah.
And
so
then an
integer
int star
is
is
the
a
variable,
pointer.
and int star is a
So
reference.
it's a reference to a memory where an integer lives, and then an int star star is a pointer to a pointer. Well, I don't think there's a pointer to a pointer to a pointer, because you just become silly at that point.
Because someone would just come out of the cupboard with a knife and butcher you and say, "Stop doing that." Oh,
But
sorry,
I like
you're
that.
dead already.
That's
Never mind.
It's not often you get to make a lovely
Do
a
you
lovely
know?
image representing C.
Do you know what anime that's from?
No,
An anime about C coding.
No, it's not. It's just, an anime.
I just reuse
I
the
think it's a
image.
spy anime.
I wasn't
I
serious.
don't know
Part
what-
of me
what it
seriously
is.
was hoping that there was an anime somewhere about C coding, given the
That would be
breadth
fun.
and
probably
depth
is.
There's
of the
anime about
genre.
most things. I don't
Can
see
you
why they
imagine,
wouldn't have one
like,
about
programming?
coding.
Yeah, Death Note with the I'm going to eat a potato chip.
Yeah.
Did you
Gav
see
is welcome
Way
to
of the
give me a
House
shout,
Husband?
but
I enjoyed that.
I thought it was okay because he already did all that thing for his Arduino stuff.
I know. I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, I
well,
converted my TX16S to have a replaceable antenna, and I got furious in the process. It seemed on the face of it trivial. Order a replacement antenna kit, which costs £6. Open up the radio, unplug the UFL, unclip the antenna,
Oh
shove an
yeah.
SMA in, done.
Did you document this? Any photos or anything? Or
I got too mad. But it ended up with, if anyone has, the company's probably got a TX16S somewhere, but the standard antenna sticks out the case by quite a margin, and the replacement antenna, instead of sort of going flush with the case, it builds on the joint where the plug-in antenna went, and it just sort of shoves an adapter and an SMA socket that's a special extra long SMA socket. It's an 18mm SMA, which is like 6mm longer than a standard SMA. And it was effing RPSMA, which I hate. I'm on this quest to remove RPSMA from all of my equipment. So I was damned if I was going to go and put the replaceable antenna mount in with an RPSMA and then have to buy all new antennas. So I took like the nuclear option, and I got the Dremel out and started cutting bits of my radio up. After a couple of abortive attempts at 3D printing, which I thought were going to work out beautifully, but as with everything 3D printed, if you put it on a quad, it's fine. If you try and put it next to a piece of perfectly molded plastic, it looks like a toddler's been out and about. So yeah, that attempt lasted not very long at all. And then I got their mount with the giant 18mm adapter, took that 18mm adapter out and just kind of sanded it down, dremeled the top off in an ugly way, and then repeatedly sanded it with wet and dry until I got down to like 1500 grit wet and dry. And it was like only 1mm proud at the top of the radio, and then I could use the normal SMA thing, and I felt very happy and pleased with myself.
I don't want this to be publicly known, but I do have a supply of SMA stuff to convert RPSMA and whatnot. So
Well, so does
next
eBay.
time,
It's not great secret.
talk to me. Yeah, I know, but I can crimp. I got all the crimp tools and everything.
I did notice this because I haven't got a TX16, but I got the Zorro, and I noticed the Zorro antenna replacement kit was available, and so I asked Radio Master if I could review one, and they sent me the TX12 Model 2 and forgot to put the replacement kit in. But I did notice with the TX12, which has a unscrewable antenna which you can replace, that it is also RPSMA, and all my antennas I wanted to test with are SMA, so I had to use an adapter, which is, kills a bit of signal, but better than nothing. But yes, I don't know why RPSMA still exists in these places.
It's not just me being stupid, but someone at Radio Master did a massive fuck up. I have the Radio Master case for my radio, not the big foam one, but the one they ship so you can actually take it places without shedding bits of packing foam. And after installing their kit for their radio, the radio is now 2 centimeters too tall to fit in their case. The case which it does fit in perfectly is produced by their competitor, Jumper. So I now have a Jumper case for the radio where it fits perfectly without hitting the top. And it's a much nicer case. So screw them.
Funny story, Curry. You know, you were talking about your little needle incident. Earlier on today, I had some needles to dispose of. So I went to my local pharmacy. I said, I've got some needles. And they were like, we don't have a needle exchange program. And they refused me. And I was like, I just want to get rid of them. So they sent me to the other chemist who they don't know me. And obviously I have a few of these that I use for soldering that I finish with. And I go in there and then they see that and they're like, we've only got the 2mm needles. Is that all right? Thinking I'm like a full 10cc heroin junkie that's fat.
So he's a tall guy. Tall guy probably needs a lot of junk.
I love the
I'll just keep refilling it, or can I have 5 of them at once?
Can't get enough skag in the regular needle.
I know. So yeah, like apparently my hair is crazy enough that I look like a crackhead now. So
that's
surely I'm way too fat to be a smackhead, but you know.
Yeah, you'd clearly be doing something wrong.
Yeah, so
surprised they didn't take you aside and say, "Excuse me, we think you may be using these wrong."
I know, like, fuck me, you're a horse. Right. Well, on that note, should we call it there?
No. Ignominious to the last. Thank you, our lovely Patreons. You're amazing.
Yes. If you have enjoyed us and you want to support the show, we have got a Patreon, and we really appreciate it because it helps cut the effing and jeffing out and cleans everything up for our Audible audio listeners on iTunes. Equally, if you're listening to this on iTunes, it has been edited and improved for you by our editor, and that was only made possible by
even though it's not called iTunes anymore.
Yeah. And on the soldering side, I'm still managing to get the Weller stuff, but you have to buy it from dodgy sources on eBay. Oh, too much light. Weller radio clot or whatever it's called. Electrino clot. You gonna focus on me? That guy.
Yeah.
Quite like Weller soldering.
That's some old school stuff right there. And I thought as well we could take turns to recommend a video. I've been watching Caroline Tyler and her youth wing that she built, and I had that in the background. Yeah.
The He-Wing F01. Oh, we should talk about wings next time, because I'm tempted to, while making one, buy one that's actually properly made so I can actually fly the thing.
Yeah, well, all right. We'll have a wing episode. We'll do that in the next couple of weeks. Cool. You've been listening to Let's Droneout. We're impartial. Thank you, Patreons. We love you lots. You've been joined by everyone's favourite curry kitten.
Goodbye. I can't get my arms up. I had the needle incident involved both arms, and they're now very sore.
Wow.
But bye-bye.
Okay. Everyone's favourite moustache, Stephen.
Cheers. Thank you. Goodbye. Good night.
And I'm Brighton Till I Fly. And I'm a crackhead, apparently. Thank you. Yeah. Good night.
Good night.